Hello students. In this video we are going to study about the cell. So cell, which is called as the fundamental unit of life. Now the question arises, why it is called as the fundamental unit of life and what does this fundamental word means? Fundamental means the basic necessity. So it is the basic necessity of any living organism. And what does this unit says? Units means smallest part. Okay friends. Now when we are calling it the basic necessity of any living organism, why we are calling it a basic necessity or fundamental unit? So very first thing comes because it is the structural and functional unit. And why we are calling it structural and functional unit of any living organism? We have called it structural unit because all living organisms are formed of cell, whether it is unicellular or multicellular. All are formed of cells, but there is an exception, virus, and there is a conflict like virus comes under living or non-living. I will talk about it later on. First, let's come to cell. So all living organisms are made up of cell. That's why we call it structural unit. And all the functions are also performed by a cell. If it is a multicellular organism, there are many different types of cell which coordinate to perform a function effectively. Right friends? So here it is simple. The cell is the structural and functional unit of living organisms. Got? Okay. Now, from where this cell word has been taken? This cell word has been taken from a Latin language which means a little room, and the word is cellula. That cellula means a little room or a hollow space. So why it is called as a hollow space? You look at this picture. Here you will see that there are only boundaries and there is a space inside it, right? When first of all cell was seen, it was like this only, like honeycomb. And in the honeycomb you can see like there are only walls and in between it there are empty spaces. So that why it is called a hollow space or a little room. So it appears like a little room, right friends? Okay. So who first of all saw the cell or observed the cell? So Robert Hooke was the one who first of all discovered, or you can say observed, dead cells. He saw cells in the cork slice. What is cork? You have seen tree and its bark, outer part, brownish part, that is cork. So from there he has isolated that cork and seen dead cells. So here you can see he observed the cells like this. If you can see this picture, right? And if you zoom it, it will appear like this, like a honeycomb. He observed these things in a simple microscope which was developed by him, a primitive microscope. And he has written a book, Micrographia. In that book, he has shown all these, right? He told about the cell in his book, Micrographia. Remember this word, Micrographia, book written by Robert Hooke. Okay. Next, let's come to the first living cell. Who first of all seen first living cell? So it was none other than Anton van Leeuwenhoek. So Leeuwenhoek, he also developed his own microscope. You can see the picture here. This is his own microscope. So in this microscope, he saw some microbes. Now the question arises, how he identified that they are living? Because dead organisms observed by him have movement. So here is the picture shown of some of the organisms observed by him. And you can see these are the organisms. They were showing movement. And you know, if something is moving, that means that has a life, right? So movement is a characteristic feature of life. So by this he concluded that these are the living cells. So Leeuwenhoek called these living cells as animalcules. Okay, first of all Leeuwenhoek called it as animalcules. You have to remember this. Leeuwenhoek first of all observed free living cells and he called it as animalcules. Okay friends. So cell as a dead form was discovered by Robert Hooke and the first living cell was discovered by Leeuwenhoek. Okay. Next comes the nucleus. You all know a cell has a boundary cell envelope and in the center there is a nucleus. That nucleus was discovered by Robert Brown. Okay. And from where he identified it? He observed orchid root cells. In the orchid root cells, he identified this cell's nucleus. Okay, I hope you are getting my points. Robert Brown discovered the nucleus, Leeuwenhoek first living cell, and Robert Hooke first dead cell. Okay, next comes the Purkinje. Purkinje gave the term protoplasm, and now the confusion comes: what is protoplasm and what is protoplast? So this is protoplasm is simply nucleus plus cytoplasm, means things inside cell membrane are called as protoplasm. So its name defines itself. Plasma means fluid. So in cell membrane, whatever comes under the fluidy content is the protoplasm. So nucleus and cytoplasm completely comes under protoplasm. Or you can say like a cell without cell membrane. Okay? A cell without cell membrane comes under protoplasm. Next comes the protoplast. What does it mean? Protoplast. Simply protoplasm plus plasma membrane. So we can say like a cell without cell wall. So whatever comes inner to cell wall comes under protoplast. Cell wall plus nucleus plus cytoplasm. Okay. So cell membrane, when we are including, it is called protoplast, and when we are saying just inner things like cytoplasm and nucleus inner to cell membrane, they are considered protoplast. Okay, I hope you are clear about it. Next comes the cell theory. So we have gone through discovery of the cell, right? How we came to know about the cell. Now comes the cell theory. Who gave this cell theory? And what was said in this cell theory? Cell theory was given by Schleiden and Schwann. So Schleiden, what he said? Schleiden was a botanist. Botanists are those who works on the plants, who study plants. Simple. So he said that all the plants are made up of cells, right? All the plants are made up of cells. And Schwann, he simply said animals are made up of cells. And Schwann was zoologist, and zoologists are who works on animals. So combining these two statements, it comes like plants and animals both are formed of cells, or we can say like all living organisms are formed of cells, right? And cell is the basic unit of living organism. So this was said in the cell theory. Okay, very simple way I have told you. Schleiden and Schwann gave the cell theory in 1839, right? But they said all living organisms are made up of cells. Okay. Next, there is a modification done by Rudolf Virchow. What he said? He gave a concept omnicellula e cellula. What does it mean, omnicellula e cellula? This statement was given in Latin language, right? And this statement simply means life arises from pre-existing life. A cell always form a new cell. Okay friends, so it's very simple. A cell will give rise to a new cell. It is not like cell will come from some other thing. A previous cell will give rise to a new cell. Simple. That's the statement says all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Now question may come in your mind that from where the first cell has come. So it goes to the evolution, and chemical theory of evolution says that simple elements like hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, they have combined to form a simple molecules like methane, water, and some other things, and these simple molecules have combined to form compound, and these compounds again combine together to form complex compounds. And from where they are getting the energy to form such bonding between them? That's from the thunder and lightning. Okay, so from there they have got that energy and they have formed bond together. And now, because they have formed the bonds, they have formed many structures. Now these all structures are arranged in a compact mass and they are transforming between each other. So they have taken a form of a cell, or we can say like complex compounds together formed a cell. And why we called a cell as a living entity? Because many reactions are taking place in it. So how can you say that many reactions are taking place in it? So because interconversions of compounds were taking place. One molecule was changed into another molecule, right? So these changes were automatically taking place. So that's why a cell is considered as first living entity, and from there the first cell came, and now the cell has divided and developed more and more cells. You will further study about the cell, its first development and its evolution in higher classes. For now I have told you that the first cell has developed and it has a chemical evolution, right? After the first cell, it give rise to new cells, right? So all cells arise from pre-existing cell that was given by Rudolf Virchow. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you. That's all for today.